The silver ship moved through space like a gentle breeze. Commander HFY stood on the bridge, his tall crystal body catching the light from distant stars. His four eyes watched the blue and green planet growing larger on the screen. Earth looked peaceful from space, with white clouds swirling over blue oceans. "Commander, we are getting strange readings," said Dr. Kira Len, the ship's science officer. Her crystal skin glowed soft purple as she worked at her station. "This planet has more radio signals than any world we have seen before." HFY moved closer to look at the data. The Zelari had visited over 200 worlds with intelligent life. Most planets had a few scattered cities and simple technology. But Earth was different. The entire planet buzzed with activity. "Look at these metal structures," Kirillin said, pointing to the screen. "They cover every landmass. And these moving objects in the sky, there are thousands of them." The Zelhari ship, called Peaceful Dawn, had been traveling through the galaxy for 3 years. Their mission was simple: find new intelligent species and welcome them to the galactic community. Every species they found followed the same pattern. They lived in harmony with nature, built beautiful cities, and created art and music. War was something they left behind long ago. "Commander, we have contact," called the communications officer. "One of the humans is trying to talk to us." On the screen appeared a human face. The being had brown hair, blue eyes, and wore a blue uniform. He looked calm, which surprised HFY. Most species panicked when they first saw aliens. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the International Space Station," the human said. "We see your ship. Are you visitors from another world?" HFY stepped forward. "Greetings, human Morrison. I am Commander HFY of the Zelhari. We come in peace to learn about your species." Jake nodded. "Welcome to our solar system. We have been hoping to meet other intelligent life. Our scientists are very excited." Within hours, more humans joined the conversation. Dr. Lisa Carter, a woman with red hair and green eyes, helped translate between the two languages. She worked faster than any translator the Zelhari had ever met. Her mind seemed to process multiple ideas at once. "We would like to visit your planet," HFY told the humans. "Our scientists wish to study your world and culture." "Of course," said Admiral Susan Blake, a stern-looking woman in a military uniform. "We will prepare a landing site near our United Nations building in New York. That is where our world leaders meet." The Zelhari prepared their shuttle for landing. As they flew down through Earth's atmosphere, HFY watched the planet's surface. Cities covered huge areas much larger than on other worlds. Strange metal paths connected the cities, and thousands of vehicles moved along them. "Commander, look at those flying machines," Kirillin said, pointing out the window. "They are much faster than anything we have seen on other planets." Military jets flew alongside their shuttle, not threatening but clearly watching. The human pilots inside waved at them, which seemed friendly enough. But HFY noticed how fast and precise the human aircraft moved. They landed in a large open area in New York. Thousands of humans had gathered to watch, but they stayed behind barriers. Their behavior was orderly and controlled. On other worlds, first contact usually meant chaos and confusion. These humans seemed prepared. Admiral Blake met them at the landing site. She was shorter than the Zelhari, but carried herself with confidence. "Welcome to Earth," she said. "We hope this is the beginning of a long friendship." The first meetings went well. The humans showed them through the United Nations building, explaining how their world government worked. But HFY noticed strange things. The building had thick walls and hidden security systems. Guards carried weapons even during a peaceful meeting. Dr. Amy Watson, a human medical officer, volunteered to let Kirillin scan her body. The results were puzzling. Amy's bones were much denser than they should be. Her muscles contained more fast-twitch fibers than any creature the Zelhari had studied. "Your species seems very strong," Kirillin told Amy. "Did you evolve on a world with high gravity?" Amy laughed. "No, Earth's gravity is normal for us. We just like to stay in shape." That evening, the humans hosted a dinner for their visitors. The food was good, and the conversation was pleasant. But HFY kept noticing small details that bothered him. The human soldiers who guarded the building moved with perfect coordination. Their eyes constantly scanned for threats even during a peaceful meal. Colonel Danny Rodriguez, a military officer, asked about Zelhari weapons technology. "How do you defend yourselves?" he asked. "Every species must have some way to protect itself." "We have no weapons," HFY explained. "The Zelhari have not fought wars for over 1,000 years. Most species in the galaxy are peaceful. Danny looked confused. No weapons at all? What if someone attacks you? No one attacks, Kirillin said. War is wasteful and primitive. Intelligent species always choose peace. The humans exchanged glances that HFY did not understand. Later, when the Zelari returned to their ship, they discussed what they had seen. Something is different about these humans, Kirillin said. Their bodies are built for physical stress. Their reflexes are faster than any species we know, and they seem to expect violence even when everything is peaceful. HFY nodded. I noticed it too. They carry themselves like warriors, even the scientists and diplomats. And did you see how they organized the crowd? It was like a military operation. Maybe they are just naturally cautious, suggested the communications officer. But HFY was not convinced. In 3 years of exploring the galaxy, he had learned to recognize patterns. Every peaceful species looked and acted similar. They were gentle, artistic, and focused on harmony. The humans seemed different. They looked friendly and peaceful, but underneath something else was waiting. As the peaceful dawn orbited Earth that night, HFY studied the planet below. The lights from human cities covered every continent. In orbit around the planet, he could see dozens of satellites and space stations. For a species that had just learned to travel in space, they had built an impressive network. But what worried him most were the scans showing underground structures all over the planet. Deep bunkers and tunnels that seemed designed to protect people from attacks. Why would a peaceful species build so many hidden shelters? Commander, Kirillin called from her station. I am detecting energy signatures from the planet's surface. They appear to be some kind of weapons. HFY's crystal skin darkened with concern. What kind of weapons? I am not sure. But the energy readings are unlike anything in our database. These humans may be more advanced than they appear. As HFY looked down at the beautiful blue planet, he felt the first touch of fear. Something about the humans was wrong. They seemed too perfect, too controlled, too ready for trouble. In all his travels through the galaxy, he had never met a species that made him nervous. But these humans, with their friendly smiles and peaceful words, somehow frightened him more than any monster he had ever imagined. Dr. Kirillin could not sleep. The data from her scans of the human Amy Watson kept running through her mind. She had studied over 50 different intelligent species, and none of them had bodies like humans. Their bones were too strong, their muscles too powerful, their reflexes too fast. The next morning, she asked to examine more human volunteers. Colonel Danny Rodriguez agreed to let her scan him. The results were even more disturbing. Danny's bone density was 3 times higher than any creature his size should have. His muscle fibers were designed for explosive movement. His nervous system could process threats and react faster than most Zelhari computers. This is impossible, Kirillin whispered to herself. No peaceful species evolves like this. Commander HFY joined her in the medical bay. What have you found? Look at these scans, she said, showing him the data. This human's body is built for combat. His hands can grip with enough force to crush metal. His legs can run at speeds that would exhaust our fastest warriors. And his brain processes multiple threat scenarios even while he sleeps. HFY studied the information. Maybe their planet is more dangerous than it appears. Perhaps they need strong bodies to survive. But when they visited Earth's surface again, they found a world much safer than most. The humans had tamed their environment completely. They had eliminated most dangerous animals and controlled their weather. Yet their bodies remained built for a much harsher world. We would like to observe your recreational activities, HFY told Admiral Blake. It helps us understand different cultures. Of course, Blake said. We have a football game today. It's one of our most popular sports. The Zelari shuttle flew to a massive stadium in Chicago. 80,000 humans had gathered to watch 2 teams play. Dr. Paul Henderson, a sports medicine doctor, explained the rules as they watched. What the Zelhari saw horrified them. Large humans ran at each other at full speed, colliding with impacts that would break bones in most species. When players hit the ground, they got up and did it again. The crowd cheered loudest when the collisions were most violent. Does this not hurt them? Kirillin asked Dr. Henderson. Oh yes, it hurts, he said with a smile. That's part of the fun. We admire toughness. But why do they choose to hurt themselves for entertainment? Dr. Henderson looked confused by the question. Competition makes us stronger. Pain teaches us lessons. How else would we improve? The Zilhari watched in stunned silence as humans celebrated violence as recreation. On the field, a player named Tony Garcia tackled an opponent so hard that both men flew through the air. The crowd erupted in cheers. Both players got up, shook hands, and prepared to do it again. After the game, Commander HFY asked to visit a human museum. Dr. Catherine Moore, a historian, took them to the Smithsonian in Washington. She was proud to show off human culture and achievement, but what HFY saw in the museum filled him with dread. Every display told the same story. Humans had spent thousands of years perfecting ways to kill each other. From stone axes to bronze swords to steel cannons to nuclear bombs, the progression never stopped. "This exhibit shows our ancient weapons," Catherine said cheerfully, pointing to cases full of spears and clubs. "Our ancestors were very creative." "You preserve these weapons as art?" HFY asked. "Of course. They represent human ingenuity and craftsmanship. Look at the detail work on this sword blade." The Zilhari moved through exhibit after exhibit. Medieval armor designed to stop arrows and sword strikes, cannons that could destroy city walls, machine guns that could kill hundreds of people in minutes, nuclear missiles that could wipe out entire civilizations. "This is your history," Kirellen whispered. "The important parts," Catherine said proudly. "War has driven most of our technological advancement. Competition makes us innovate." In the medical section, Dr. Kirellen made another disturbing discovery. Humans had developed incredibly advanced trauma medicine. They could repair damage that would kill most species. Battlefield surgery, emergency treatment, prosthetic limbs, all designed to keep warriors fighting. "Your medical knowledge is impressive," she told Dr. Amy Watson. "But why do you know so much about treating injuries?" "We've had lots of practice," Amy said. "Humans have been hurting each other for a long time. We had to learn how to fix the damage." That afternoon, Admiral Blake took them to observe military training at Fort Bragg. Sergeant Major Tony Garcia led his unit through combat exercises. The Zilhari watched young humans, barely adults, learn to use weapons and tactics that veteran alien warriors would find overwhelming. The training scenarios involved simulated battles against overwhelming odds. The human soldiers practiced fighting while wounded, outnumbered, and running out of supplies. They learned to use every tool as a weapon and every terrain as an advantage. "How long do they train?" HFY asked the Admiral. "Basic training is 3 months," Blake said. "Then specialized training for their role." "But really, we're all always training. Combat skills get rusty if you don't practice." The Zilhari watched a young woman named Kate Sullivan, barely 20 years old, take apart and reassemble a rifle in seconds while blindfolded. She could hit targets at distances that strained Zilhari vision technology. When asked how she learned so quickly, she just shrugged. "It's not that hard," Kate said. "You just pay attention and practice. My little brother is even better than me." That evening, the Zilhari held an emergency meeting on their ship. The evidence was overwhelming. Humans were not a peaceful species pretending to be warriors. They were warriors pretending to be peaceful. Their entire culture revolves around controlled violence, Kirellen reported. Their sports, their entertainment, their history, their medicine, everything assumes constant conflict. "Look at their children's games," added the communications officer. "I watched human youngsters today. They play war, practice fighting, and compete in everything. A 6-year-old human child has better reflexes than most adult Zilhari." HFY studied the data they had collected. Human reaction times, strength, endurance, and pain tolerance all exceeded the galactic average by massive amounts. Their technology focused on transportation, communication, and weapons. Their culture celebrated warriors and honored those who died in battle. "There is something else," Kirellen said quietly. "I scanned their entertainment media. Their stories, movies, and books are filled with violence. They create fictional wars for fun. They imagine conflicts with aliens, monsters, and each other. Violence is how they relax." The truth was becoming clear, and it terrified the Zilhari. In a galaxy of peaceful civilizations, they had found a species that evolved specifically for warfare. Every aspect of human development pointed toward the same conclusion. These beings were natural-born killers. "What do we do?" asked the communications officer. HFY was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "We observe more, but I fear we have found something the galaxy has never seen before, a species that reached intelligence without abandoning their warrior nature." As the peaceful dawn continued its orbit of Earth, the Zilhari crew watched the planet below with new eyes. The lights that had seemed beautiful now looked like military installations. The satellites that had impressed them now seemed like weapons platforms. The humans who had welcomed them so warmly now appeared as the most dangerous species in the galaxy. And somewhere on the planet below, millions of humans continued their daily lives, unaware that they had just been classified as a galactic threat. Dr. Marcus Webb smiled as he prepared his presentation for the Zilhari visitors. The human anthropologist was excited to share his species' history with beings from another world. He had spent weeks preparing what he considered a basic overview of human civilization. Commander WarHFY and his team gathered in the conference room at the United Nations building. They expected to learn about human art, philosophy, and peaceful achievements. What they heard instead confirmed their worst fears. Human history can be divided into several major periods, Marcus began cheerfully. The Stone Age, when we learned to make weapons from rocks and sticks. The Bronze Age, when we discovered metal weapons. The Iron Age, when we made even better weapons. And the Modern Era, when we invented guns, bombs, and nuclear missiles. WarHFY's crystal skin darkened. Your historical periods are defined by weapons? Well, yes, Marcus said, looking confused by the question. Weapons technology drives most major changes in human society. New weapons create new tactics which change how we organize our civilizations. Dr. Kirillin listened in growing horror as Marcus casually described events that would traumatize most galactic species. The Mongol invasions that killed millions. The Black Death that wiped out half of Europe. 2 world wars that claimed over 100 million human lives. These conflicts, she interrupted. You speak of them as normal events? They were normal, Marcus replied. Conflict drives progress. Without pressure from enemies, we might never have developed agriculture, writing, mathematics, or space travel. War makes us innovative. The presentation continued with Marcus showing maps of famous battles, explaining military strategies, and discussing the rise and fall of empires. He talked about Napoleon's campaigns, the American Civil War, and the bombing of cities during World War II with the same tone other species used to discuss art exhibitions. This nuclear warfare, WarHFY said carefully. You created weapons that could destroy your entire planet? Oh yes, Marcus said proudly. We built enough nuclear weapons to destroy all life on Earth several times over. It was called mutually assured destruction. The idea was that if everyone could destroy everyone else, nobody would start a war. But that is insane, Kirillin whispered. Not really, Marcus said. It worked. We haven't had a major nuclear war since we invented them. Sometimes the threat of total destruction is the best way to keep peace. After the presentation, the Zilhari team held another emergency meeting. Dr. Kirillin could barely speak. They turned their entire planet into a weapon. They built machines that could kill every living thing, and they call it strategy. The data suggests they still maintain thousands of these nuclear weapons, reported the science officer. They could sterilize dozens of worlds with their current arsenal. Commander WarHFY contacted the Zilhari fleet. Admiral Zorthak, we need to discuss the humans immediately. Within hours, a secure transmission brought the Admiral's image to the ship's screen. Zorthak was old even by Zilhari standards, his crystal body glowing with ancient wisdom. He had overseen first contact with over 50 species. Commander, your reports are disturbing. Are you certain these readings are accurate? Yes, Admiral. The humans are unlike any species we have encountered. They appear to be biological weapons designed by evolution for constant warfare. WarHFY transmitted the medical scans, historical data, and cultural observations. Admiral Zorthak studied the information in silence. Finally, he spoke. Commander, in my 400 years of service, I have never seen anything like this. These humans are an impossibility. No intelligent species maintains warrior culture after achieving global communication. Back on Earth, Dr. Jennifer Walsh was beginning to notice the aliens' strange behavior. The xenopsychologist had been assigned to monitor the Zilhari's emotional state. She noticed they seemed increasingly nervous around humans. Commander WarHFY, she said during their next meeting. Is everything all right? You seem troubled. WarHFY struggled with how to answer. Dr. Walsh, may I ask you something? In your galaxy travels, have you ever encountered a species like yours? What do you mean? A species that maintains military forces, creates weapons for entertainment, and treats warfare as a normal part of existence. Jennifer thought about it. Well, we've never met any other species before you, but I assume most intelligent life would need some way to defend itself. Don't you have armies? No, WarHFY said quietly. The Zilhari abandoned warfare over 1,000 years ago. So has every other species in our database. Every other species? Jennifer asked. How many species have you met? Over 10,000, Jennifer stared at him. 10,000 peaceful species. No armies, no weapons, no conflicts. Warfare is considered a primitive stage of development. Intelligent species always choose cooperation over competition once they achieve interstellar travel. That night, Jennifer reported the conversation to General Robert Klein, the commanding officer of NORAD. Klein was a veteran soldier who had served in 3 different conflicts. The news that humanity was unique in its warrior nature did not surprise him. So we're the only fighters in the galaxy, Klein said. That's either very good news or very bad news. What do you mean? Either we're the toughest species around, or we're about to be seen as a threat to everyone else. Klein's prediction proved accurate. The next day, the Zelhari requested detailed information about human military capabilities. They wanted to know about nuclear arsenals, biological weapons, space-based defense systems, and troop strengths. Admiral Blake was suspicious. Why do you need this information? For our records, HFY said, but his tone suggested another reason. The questions continued. How many humans were trained for combat? How quickly could Earth mobilize for war? What was humanity's maximum sustainable military production? The Zelhari were not asking about human culture anymore. They were conducting a threat assessment. Dr. Kiralan made another disturbing discovery while studying human children. She observed a kindergarten class playing during recess. The games they played would challenge adult warriors from most species. Tag involved running speeds that strained alien tracking systems. Playground equipment required strength and coordination that few galactic species possessed. Most troubling was a game called dodgeball. Human children, some only 5 years old, threw balls at each other with accuracy and force that would injure most adult aliens. They caught projectiles moving faster than Zelhari reflexes could track, and they laughed while doing it. Even their youngest are natural warriors, she reported to HFY. They train for combat from childhood and call it play. That evening, the Zelhari made a discovery that changed everything. While scanning Earth's surface, they detected massive underground complexes on every continent, bunkers, tunnel systems, and hidden facilities that could shelter millions of people during a planetary war. Commander, the science officer called, I am reading nuclear missile silos across the planet. Thousands of them. And look at this. Orbital defense platforms disguised as communication satellites. HFY studied the data. The humans had not just built weapons. They had turned their entire planet into a fortress. Every major city had underground shelters. Every government building had secret bunkers. The humans were prepared for warfare on a scale that could destroy civilizations. The final piece of evidence came when General Patricia Hayes, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, agreed to brief the Zelhari on human military doctrine. She explained concepts like acceptable losses, strategic nuclear exchange, and total war with the same professional calm that Zelhari used to discuss stellar navigation. In a worst-case scenario, she said matter-of-factly, human doctrine calls for the complete destruction of any threat to our species, even if it means our own extinction. We call it the final option. After the briefing, HFY sat alone in his quarters trying to process what he had learned. The humans were not just warriors. They were a species that would rather die fighting than live in defeat. They had built a civilization around the idea that some things were worth destroying everything to protect. As he looked down at Earth through the ship's window, HFY realized the terrifying truth. In a galaxy of peaceful civilizations, humanity represented something unprecedented. A species that had achieved intelligence without abandoning their killer instincts. They were evolution's perfect warriors, wrapped in the technology of an advanced civilization. And soon, they would have spaceships. Fleet Admiral Zorthak received Commander HFY's emergency transmission with growing alarm. In his 4 centuries of service, he had never encountered a situation like this. The data from Earth painted a picture that challenged everything the Zelhari understood about intelligent life. Impossible, he muttered, studying the biological scans. No species evolves like this. But the evidence was overwhelming. Humans possessed physical capabilities that exceeded most galactic species. Their bone density, muscle structure, and neural processing speed suggested they had evolved on a death world where only the strongest survived. Yet Earth was a peaceful garden planet with moderate climate and abundant resources. Dr. Kirilen's cultural analysis was even more disturbing. Human society celebrated warriors, honored military service, and treated warfare as a normal part of existence. Their entertainment media glorified violence. Their sports involved deliberate physical trauma. Even their children played games that simulated combat. Admiral Zorthak called an emergency session of the Zelari Council. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered via quantum communication to discuss the human situation. The debate was intense. These humans represent an unprecedented threat, declared Representative Mordan, his crystal body glowing angry red. A warrior species with industrial technology could destabilize the entire galaxy. But they seem peaceful, argued Representative Kella. They welcomed us with friendship. Perhaps their warrior nature is dormant. Zorthak shared the complete data package, medical scans showing humans built for combat, historical records of constant warfare, military capabilities that could threaten multiple star systems. The evidence painted a clear picture of a species that had never abandoned its killer instincts. Look at their response to our presence, Zorthak said. They immediately established military protocols. Their leaders are all connected to their war machine. Even their scientists ask questions about weapons technology. On Earth, Dr. Jennifer Walsh was beginning to understand the aliens' growing nervousness. She had spent weeks studying Zelhari behavior and noticed disturbing patterns. They asked increasingly specific questions about human military capabilities. They seemed fascinated by weapons technology. Most telling, they kept mentioning other galactic species as if making comparisons. General Klein, she said during a secure briefing. I think the Zelhari are conducting a threat assessment. They're not here to welcome us to the galactic community. They're here to decide if we're dangerous. Klein nodded grimly. That matches our intelligence. They've been scanning our military installations, counting our nuclear weapons, and mapping our defensive positions. Whatever they're planning, it's not a friendship treaty. The truth became clear when Commander Vexhai made a slip during a casual conversation. Dr. Ryan Foster, a military psychologist, had been discussing human concepts of heroism and sacrifice with the Zelhari commander. Your species is unique, Vexhai said. In our database of over 10,000 intelligent species, none maintain standing armies. War was abandoned by every civilization that achieved interstellar travel. Ryan stared at him. 10,000 species, and we're the only ones with militaries? Vexhai realized his mistake too late. I should not have said that. Commander, why would that be a problem? Are you afraid of us? The question hung in the air like a loaded weapon. Vexhai's silence was answer enough. Within hours, the conversation was reported to the highest levels of human government. President Catherine Ross convened an emergency session with world leaders and military commanders. The implications were staggering. We're alone, said Defense Secretary Amanda Foster. 10,000 peaceful species, and we're the only warriors. That makes us either invaluable allies or existential threats. Admiral Peter Clark, head of Space Command, provided the military assessment. Our satellites have detected massive energy signatures at the edge of the solar system. The Zelhari fleet is much larger than they claimed. We're looking at potentially hundreds of ships. The fleet's positioning confirmed human suspicions. The alien vessels had taken positions that would allow them to blockade Earth completely. No human ship could leave the solar system without their permission. It was not a diplomatic formation. It was a siege. President Ross authorized covert intelligence gathering. Human satellites and deep space sensors mapped the alien fleet's capabilities. The results were sobering. Zelhari technology was centuries ahead of human science. Their ships could destroy Earth's entire military with minimal effort. But humans had one advantage the aliens did not expect. They were already prepared for war. General Sharon Murphy, commanding officer of Strategic Command, briefed the president on Earth's defensive options. We have nuclear submarines hidden in ocean trenches, missile silos buried in mountains, and orbital weapons platforms disguised as space stations. The aliens know about our obvious military assets, but they've missed our hidden capabilities. Can we fight them? President Ross asked. We can hurt them, Murphy replied. But the cost would be enormous. We're talking about the potential destruction of human civilization. The debate in the emergency session revealed the fundamental difference between humans and the rest of the galaxy. Some leaders argued for peaceful negotiation, pointing out that the Zelhari had not yet shown open hostility. Others insisted that any species afraid of human warriors was probably planning to eliminate the threat. Senator Carl Thompson represented the peace faction. Perhaps we can prove we're not dangerous. Show them our art, our music, our philosophy. Convince them we've evolved beyond our warrior past. General Murphy shook her head. Senator, we haven't evolved beyond anything. Every major human achievement has military applications. Our computers were built for code breaking. Our rockets were designed as missiles. Our medical advances came from treating battlefield injuries. We are exactly what they think we are. The truth was uncomfortable but undeniable. Human civilization was built on a foundation of controlled violence. Their greatest heroes were warriors. Their most advanced technology had military origins. Their culture celebrated competition, honored sacrifice, and prepared constantly for the next conflict. Meanwhile, the Zelhari fleet continued to grow. More ships arrived daily, taking positions throughout the solar system. They were not hiding their presence anymore. The message was clear. Earth was under quarantine. Commander WarHFY delivered the first official hint of the aliens' intentions during a meeting with Admiral Blake. Your species shows great promise, he said carefully. But rapid technological advancement can be dangerous. Perhaps Earth would benefit from guidance in managing your development. Blake understood the veiled threat. What kind of guidance? Technology limitation protocols, restrictions on certain types of research, monitoring systems to ensure peaceful development. You want to control our advancement. We want to ensure galactic stability. That night, Blake reported the conversation to the president. The Zelhari's plan was becoming clear. They intended to keep humanity trapped in the solar system, prevented from developing interstellar travel. Earth would become a cosmic reservation, monitored and controlled by alien overseers. The human response was swift and decisive. Defense installations worldwide went to high alert. Nuclear submarines moved to attack positions. Orbital weapons platforms powered up their targeting systems. If the aliens wanted to keep humanity caged, they would find it was a cage full of tigers. Dr. Jennifer Walsh made one final attempt at understanding the alien perspective. She approached Commander WarHFY with a direct question. Commander, why are you afraid of us? We've shown you nothing but friendship. WarHFY looked at her for a long moment. Dr. Walsh, your species scares us because you are what we used to be. Long ago, the Zelhari were warriors too. We fought terrible wars, built terrible weapons, and nearly destroyed ourselves. We survived by abandoning violence and embracing peace. But we haven't destroyed ourselves. No, WarHFY said quietly. You have learned to control your violence, to channel it, to use it as a tool. That makes you more dangerous than we ever were. A peaceful species can be reasoned with. A controlled warrior species is unpredictable. As the conversation ended, both sides understood the situation clearly. The galaxy was full of former warriors who had chosen peace. Humanity was unique in choosing controlled violence. The question was whether the galaxy had room for both philosophies. The answer would come soon. Fleet Admiral Zorthak was already preparing the ultimatum that would force humanity to choose between freedom and survival. And somewhere in the depths of space, human engineers were working frantically on projects the aliens knew nothing about. The war between peace and freedom was about to begin. Fleet Admiral Zorthak arrived at Earth aboard the massive command ship, Eternal Peace. The vessel was 10 times larger than anything in Earth's space fleet, its crystal hull gleaming with power that could crack planets. Behind it came 200 more Zelhari ships, taking positions that surrounded the entire solar system. The official message spoke of enhanced diplomatic relations and cultural exchange. But every human leader knew the truth. The galaxy's most powerful military force had come to deliver an ultimatum. President Catherine Ross stood in the Oval Office, watching news reports of alien ships appearing in Earth's skies. Citizens around the world looked up in wonder and fear at the crystalline vessels that blotted out the stars. The beautiful ships were a reminder that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They were also a threat that could end human civilization in hours. Madam President, Admiral Peter Clark reported via secure communication. The alien fleet has taken blockade positions. Nothing can leave Earth's atmosphere without their permission. We are effectively under siege. Ross nodded grimly. What are our defensive options? General Sharon Murphy appeared on the conference screen from her command bunker. We have activated all defensive systems. Nuclear submarines are in position. Our orbital weapons platforms are online. But Madam President, if this turns into a shooting war, we will lose. How badly? Earth's military could inflict significant damage on their fleet. But the cost would be billions of human lives and the complete destruction of our civilization. They have enough firepower to turn Earth into a lifeless rock. Commander HFY requested a meeting at the United Nations building. When he arrived, he was not alone. Fleet Admiral Zorthak accompanied him, along with a full diplomatic team. The message was clear. This was not a routine cultural exchange. This was the most important negotiation in human history. The alien delegation entered the UN Assembly Hall like conquerors surveying defeated territory. Zorthak was ancient even by Zelhari standards, his crystal body radiating power and authority. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 10,000 worlds. Humans of Earth, he began formally. I am Fleet Admiral Zorthak of the Galactic Council. I bring greetings from the civilized species of the galaxy. President Ross had prepared for this moment. She stood before the assembled representatives of Earth's nations, knowing that her next words would determine humanity's future. Admiral Zorthak, we welcome you to Earth. We hope this marks the beginning of friendship between our species. Zorthak's expression did not change. President Ross, we come not as friends, but as guardians of galactic peace. Your species presents unique challenges that require immediate attention. The Admiral activated a holographic display that filled the assembly hall. Images of human weapons, military installations, and historical battles appeared in the air. The display showed 2 world wars, nuclear explosions, and combat footage from recent conflicts. In 4 centuries of galactic exploration, we have encountered over 10,000 intelligent species. All of them abandoned warfare before achieving interstellar capability. Humanity is the first species to maintain active military forces while developing space technology. Murmurs rippled through the human delegates. Senator Carl Thompson raised his hand. Admiral, surely other species must defend themselves. The universe can be dangerous. You misunderstand, Zorthak replied. Civilized species have police forces to handle individual criminals. But the concept of organized armies designed to fight other armies exists only among primitive cultures. War is a disease that intelligent life outgrows. President Ross felt the weight of the moment. What exactly are you saying, Admiral? I am saying that humanity represents an existential threat to galactic civilization. Your warrior culture, combined with advancing technology, creates an unacceptable risk. We cannot allow a militant species to spread beyond their home system. The ultimatum came with mathematical precision. Humanity would accept technology limitation protocols that would prevent the development of faster-than-light travel. In exchange, Earth would receive medical advances that could eliminate disease and agricultural technology that could end hunger. The offer was generous by any reasonable standard, but it came with a price: eternal imprisonment in the solar system. You would make us prisoners in our own home, said Defense Secretary Amanda Foster. We would ensure your peaceful development, Zorthak corrected. Earth would become a protected world, guided by species with millennia of peaceful experience. Admiral Blake stood slowly. And if we refuse? The silence that followed was heavy with threat. Zorthak did not need to explain what would happen. The massive fleet surrounding Earth was answer enough. President Ross called for a recess. In a secure conference room, Earth's leaders debated humanity's future. The choice was stark: accept limitation and live safely under alien supervision, or refuse and face potential annihilation. We have to consider the practical options, Senator Thompson argued. They're offering to end disease, hunger, and environmental destruction. Billions of lives could be saved. General Murphy disagreed. Senator, they're offering to turn us into pets. Comfortable, well-fed pets, but pets nonetheless. Is that really what humanity wants to become? Dr. Ryan Foster, the military psychologist, provided the perspective that crystallized the debate. This isn't really about practical benefits. It's about what makes us human. Our drive to explore, to compete, to push boundaries even when it's dangerous. If we accept their offer, we might survive, but we won't be human anymore. President Ross listened to hours of debate. Scientists argued for the benefits of alien technology. Military leaders warned about the loss of human independence. Philosophers discussed the nature of freedom versus security. In the end, the decision came down to a simple question. What did it mean to be human? Colonel Alan Stewart, a decorated Marine veteran, provided the answer that decided humanity's fate. Madam President, I've served in 3 wars and seen what humans can do to each other. But I've also seen what we do for each other. We're not just warriors. We're warriors who fight for something bigger than ourselves. Take away our ability to choose our own path, and you take away everything that makes us worth saving. When the session reconvened, President Ross delivered humanity's response. She stood before the assembled alien delegation with the quiet dignity of a species that had made its choice. Admiral Zorthak, we appreciate your offer. The benefits you describe would improve many human lives, but we must respectfully decline. Zorthak's crystal skin darkened. You choose conflict over cooperation? We choose freedom over safety, Ross replied. Humanity has always believed that some things are worth fighting for, even when the odds are impossible. Our independence is one of those things. The alien admiral studied the human president for a long moment. You understand the consequences of this decision? We do. Your species would rather face extinction than accept limitation. Our species would rather die free than live as prisoners, no matter how comfortable the prison. Colonel Stewart stepped forward. Admiral, you said that war is a disease civilized species outgrow. Maybe you're right. But you've also forgotten something that war teaches. Some things are worth dying for. The confrontation ended not with violence, but with withdrawal. Admiral Zorthak and his fleet pulled back to the edge of the solar system, establishing a permanent quarantine zone. They would not commit genocide against humanity, but they would not allow humans to spread beyond their home system. We will monitor your development, Zorthak announced. If you attempt to leave the Sol system, we will respond accordingly. Earth is now under permanent containment. As the alien fleet took up blockade positions, humanity turned inward. The knowledge that they were alone in a galaxy of peaceful species changed everything. Earth's nations united in ways they never had before, driven by the understanding that they faced an external threat that made their old conflicts seem petty. Scientists worked frantically to understand alien technology. Military planners developed strategies for eventual conflict with superior forces. Engineers began secret projects in hidden facilities, using reverse-engineered alien components to build humanity's first experimental faster-than-light drive. Dr. Jennifer Walsh summed up the situation in her final report. The galaxy is full of species that chose peace over progress. Humanity has chosen progress over peace. The question is whether there's room in the universe for both philosophies. 5 years after first contact, Captain Nicole Adams prepared to test humanity's first faster-than-light vessel. The ship had been built in secret using stolen alien technology and human innovation. If it worked, humanity would prove that even cosmic prisons could not hold species built for war. As the experimental ship powered up its engines, both humans and aliens understood that the real conflict was just beginning. The Zelari had built a galaxy based on peace and cooperation. Humanity represented something that challenged their fundamental beliefs about civilization. The test flight succeeded. The ship disappeared in a flash of light, traveled faster than anything should be able to move, and returned to Earth within hours. Humanity had broken the cosmic speed limit and proven that some cages were meant to be broken. When Admiral Zorthak detected the faster-than-light signature, he knew.